beautiful girls. Welcome back to Truth Over Tea. We're going to be talking about the hairy, scary thing under the bed, or dealing with mishaps and when things go wrong in your creative business. So my girlfriends and I have had a lot of experience with mishaps and things going wrong. So we just wanted to share some of our stories with you to encourage your heart that that really is normal when these things happen to you, and that if you're looking at everybody's life on Facebook and on blogs that looks picture perfect, you really don't know what's going on behind the scenes until you hear some of the crazy stories. So what kind of things have you guys ran into that really threw you for a curveball and you just thought you would never, ever, ever recover from?
Well, for me, I'm happy to start out by saying that when we were putting together Paris in a Cup, we really thought we had it all together. We really thought that we could do it all ourselves. We, really thought it was just, the perfect icing on the cake, so to speak. But what we didn't realize is that the cake wasn't quite done in the middle, so to speak. We had been open just a few days and were absolutely astounded by the reaction that we had, and we had so many people coming in, and we were just flat overwhelmed and fell flat on our faces. Shut the doors, sat here and cried for 2 days and said, you know what, we can't do this, we just can't do it, it's just too much for us. And then, we took a look inside ourselves and said, you know what, yes, we can do this. And that's where we learned that don't be afraid to ask for help. You know what, if you need help, get the help that you need. And that's what we did. We regrouped and we restructured ourselves, opened up a few days later, and here we are. 6 years later, we're still here. So
I think that's really, really good advice to ask for help, because sometimes we feel like if we ask for help, it's either a sign of weakness or that we've failed, when really what you need is just a fresh set of eyes or somebody else's perspective to get you right back on track.
Right.
And you would never know that that happened here. This tea salon is absolutely exquisite, every detail. And the first time Cheryl told me that story, I was beside myself. I've known her quite some time and couldn't believe she would ever shut the door and cry on the floor in here.
We did.
And that just goes to show you that just, even though she is a very savvy businesswoman and everything was very well thought through in this process, things just throw you a curveball that you could never anticipate was coming down the pipes.
And I think that's what's so important about having relationships with other women in business that you can trust.
Right.
That's kind of where my hairy scary thing was. Like, I started French Garden House and I thought I was so nice, and I met a lot of other people that I thought were nice, and they turned out not to be so nice. They really were not as supportive or as kind as I had hoped they were. So for me, I kind of pulled back and thought, okay, maybe I have to do this all by myself, because my family was so supportive, but they didn't run their own business. So they really didn't know that, I was stuck at the computer 12 hours a day. That didn't mean I was in love with my computer. It just meant I had to get things done. So I really needed a group of ladies like you guys who are kind and supportive and not mean. Thank you, lady. To help. It really helps to surround yourself with people that are supportive.
It does. And who understand that dynamic of when you're self-employed,
Right.
when you're running your own business, or you're getting ready to launch it.
Right.
That it takes time and concentrated effort, and maybe you can't go to lunch all the time, or
Right.
you can't. And I've had, that's been a hairy scary for me, is I was running 2 businesses simultaneously, an antique and vintage business and then my retail design. I was working all the time. And I didn't get to go to those girls' retreats at the beach or all the parties and things, and it really started getting me down. And I realized, for one, I wasn't asking for help. And I didn't reach out to my friends and say, let's just get together, can we get together on this day, and then make time to do that. It was just as important to take care of me and those needs, and to connect with my support group as to keep working. So that balance is something I'm definitely learning.
Super important to take care of yourself too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think for my end, it would be, it's never too late to follow your dream. Or for myself, I remember several years ago, I went to design school and I kind of put that aside from, to concentrate on my son and my husband and his career. And I kind of just put myself on the back burner. And then all of a sudden my son graduates, the empty nester syndrome comes along, and it's like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? And it's like, oh, but I couldn't possibly, start doing what I really wanted. I'm too old, or my life's passed me by. How do I start? So it just baby steps, just little by little, and support from your friends and family is good.
It's good.
too, because that's.
And I think you have to be willing to say, I'm going to try, and it might not work.
Right.
Exactly.
You know,
That's true.
I've
Don't
always
be
had
afraid
this
to
dream,
fail.
and I'm just gonna take that first little baby step. If it doesn't work, I'm gonna be sad, but it's okay. And sometimes you take that first little step, and then it leads you to the next step and the next step. And all of a sudden, you're excited about your future, like you are
Yeah,
now, and
right.
all these things come, the support comes, and the doors just start opening for you to go a whole new direction. And that's an amazing
And I think you're right. I think too that you have to be willing to kind of push your own envelope.
Yes.
Because you can't stay where you were all the time, especially not if you have a dream and you want to make a business happen. You have to kind of get over yourself and say, okay, I don't really like for me it was public speaking. I don't really like public speaking, but then I make myself do it because you just grow as a person. Or when I started French Garden House, my children actually laughed at me and said, Mom, you can barely operate the remote control on the TV. How on earth are you going to do a whole website? And I just kind of thought, you know what, you guys just watch me.
Just watch me.
And I'll tell you, it wasn't easy. There were times that I seriously sat crying in my office for a couple of hours because I just didn't get it. I didn't get HTML, I didn't get all that stuff. But now, after 5-6 years, I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah.
And I proved to myself that I wasn't too old to learn that technology.
It's fun to do that.
It's fun to do that.
to learn something
It
new
is.
and to apply it to your business or your life or your relationships and go, look what I did. I'm proud of me.
I know.
And you have to give yourself permission to go through the process.
Yeah.
You know, it's not easy to start a brand new dream, and when those mishaps come, it doesn't mean, oh, it's not meant to be. I hear women say that all the time, oh, it's not meant to be. Well, no, that's just life. You know, the
Right.
computer
Right.
crashes,
Yep.
equipment isn't delivered on time, textile goods don't cooperate. I've had that
Yeah.
issue. And you go back and you think, oh, well, maybe it's not meant to be. Maybe I wanted to say that to myself as like a little bit of an excuse to not push myself to work through it. But you always grow as you're pushing through.
And we all do that. We all question, am I out of my mind
Yes.
to
Yeah.
try this new thing or
Yeah.
to try to go to, you have a business but you want to go to the next level? Am I crazy? What am I thinking?
Trying to talk
Because when,
yourself
when
out,
something
yeah.
goes wrong, you think, oh, this, maybe I'm just not
Right.
cut out for this. And you do. You have to just say, well, I'm going to try
You
and
do.
try it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Try a different
And
tactic.
there's always going to be days where you think, oh, what am I thinking? I heard this great interview on the radio the other day. They interviewed 2 people who make custom paint brushes, and obviously they can't compete with the overseas paintbrush market. And both of them found a niche. And one of the owners of this old paintbrush factory said, my business, this is how I think of it. On some days I think, my business is probably worth 2 cents. And then there's the next day and I think, wow, my business is worth $1 million. And that's kind of what all of us go through when we have our own business. Some days you think, boy, it's worth about 1 cent. And then the next thing happens, like you said, you push through and you go to the next level and you think, wow, this is really working well. And I think that's just the human part of us that
It's also the creative part of us.
Yeah.
Because I think creative people, artists, anyone who makes something or takes nothing and turns it into something, we have this unfortunate habit of sort of doubting ourselves. Is
Right.
anybody else going to like this? And if you're running a business, you want approval, you want people to buy your product or your
Right.
service, but that sometimes hinders us from feeling that the value is
That the
there.
value is
And
there.
it's a learning process. It
I
really
think
is.
that
Yes.
you owe it to yourself to just try, because you don't want to be sitting and going, shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Right.
maybe. At least in your
Absolutely.
heart, it's like, okay, I tried it, and it felt good while it lasted, or
right.
even better yet, oh wow, look at where I am now, and look at, this is growing and that. So it's just encouraging, I think.
Yes.
just
That's
to-
a really good point, that you owe it to
Yes.
yourself to try.
Absolutely.
And then also realizing that some things last for a season.
Right.
Some things don't
Yes.
last forever.
Right.
Yes.
And that can be really hard for us as women to just
Right.
to realize, okay, that is done now. We're going on to the next thing.
It doesn't mean it failed.
Right. It
Right.
doesn't mean it failed. And a lot of times, I know with myself personally, I try to bridge the two. It's kind of the old, a door closes so a window opens, that kind of a thing. And sometimes you're waiting for the window to open, and you're waiting for the window to open, and then all of a sudden you decide, well, you're just going to help the Lord with this issue. We're going to just take out that wall
Yeah.
so that we can
I kick
get on
doors
to the
open.
next
It's
thing.
not a good thing.
It's not a good thing.
Truly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice that you ladies shared here today, of just encouraging, and that you owe it to yourself, and things don't always go the way that you think, but you just keep pressing on and pursuing your creative
You
dream.
have hope and you have faith in yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You have to.
Amen.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Keep believing in yourself. And for all of you ladies watching us out there, keep believing in yourself. All of the ladies here have been a part of Launch Your Creativity. They have either spoken or sponsored, been a big part of it. And we all believe in creative passions. We believe in your dreams too. So we're so thankful to have you with us today. And please join us again for another piece of wisdom at Truth Over Tea.